what do we say to the situation whereby debt is something that women should be discussing with their spouses, with their families? How are we going to get women to stop feeling this guilt and shame that is associated with debt? Surely we are at the stage now where we have to become proactive about our solutions. And how can we become proactive with regard to women and their debt?
Well, I think that the label that women have got is you lost corp, you don't look after your money, and just chuck the when you go to an ATM and you draw cash, you just scrunch up the paper and throw it away. I'm really good. And we've seen it in advertising where I can afford everything and I'm this. It's time for women to say to themselves, well, let me examine myself. Let me ask myself, how do I spend my money? And it's not easy. It's going to take about 3 months of good practice if you haven't done it before, and discipline, keeping track of every little cent that you spend.
How do you suggest a woman who knows that there is a problem with over-indebtedness, how do you suggest she starts this process of reflection?
The easiest way is to get a little notebook. I've got one. And in the back of my notebook is an envelope. It's pasted in, and all my cash slips are put inside there. And either on a daily or a weekly basis, I will just go and write out what I bought and for what it was for. Because sometimes it's electricity that's an essential, but it might be a slab of chocolate, not an essential. And if I am buying 10 slabs of chocolate but only 100 rands worth of electricity, there might be an imbalance in your spending.
But again, we can only start making decisions once we know what we are dealing with. True. So again, it comes down to being honest about your finances. Don't you think that there's a barrier there also in terms of honest communication and saying, you know what, this is who I am, I have been spending too much, I acknowledge it and now I go forward. Don't you think that that denial stage is also something we need to leave behind?
I've actually just come away from a client now. She and her husband came to see me last year. He didn't know that she had some old debt. And when they went to buy a house, she wasn't credit worthy, and we'll get back there. So it was a long, rocky road. They had just got married. So before they got married, they hadn't discussed their finances at all. He had no idea that she had an impaired credit record. And now I want to suggest now that if anybody has any doubt, just go and find out what your credit record is. Just know what it is and then take action. And that's what they did.
And every South African consumer is entitled to one free credit report from every of the credit bureaus in South Africa.
Right.
So there's no excuse to not know what your credit record is.
And it is so easy. It's so easy. If we've got a minute, I'll explain how to do that. It's really so easy. But what they did was, and this is something that anybody can do, they decided to take stock of the situation, how much debt she had, and it was close on 30,000 Rand, which by today's standard is not a lot of debt, by the way. But to settle 30,000 Rands of debt is not an easy task. And they had to really work at it. So what they did was they assessed, just as we've just discussed now, they took down what their expenses were, and they sit together every month a day before payday. Please don't do it after payday because you've already bought a takeaway or a treat. Do it a day before payday and discuss your needs for the coming month. If you've got children that are old enough, talk to them. Do you need new school shoes? What stationery do you need, so that you can plan your expenses up front? Set aside money, give it a label. This is not new information I'm giving you, but some people might not know it yet. Name your money, call it electricity money, bread money, school fee money, so that you don't use it for something else.
So that every little bit of money is accounted for and has a specific purpose.
Right. And saving money. Please put something away.